Hi folks, I said I would put this video on. Apologies for the lateness of it. I've had a lot of things on in the last couple of weeks. Bug out bags. The prickly issue of bug out bags. There's a million views on it. Some I agree with, some I don't. The age-old question of bug in, bug out. And it's a kind of prickly subject. So, first thing, do you need a bug out bag? Get home bag, whatever you want to call it. Well, I would suggest yes. Even if it's something along the lines of you're in your car, seasonal dependent, it's winter time, you could be stuck in traffic. You want to make yourself a bit more comfortable. You might have something to drink, you might have some food, you might have a blanket. And that's at the lower end of the scale before you start adding in things like wind-up radios, heater pads, even a small trowel and some toilet roll, even to make use of an improvised bathroom if need be. So there's various things we can call a bug out bag, get home bag, etc. And there's some strange videos going about, and I do understand the mindset to an extent, but I think you've got to ask yourself some searching questions. So I've seen bags that, I mean, with the best will in the world, even if you're a professional soldier and you're used to tabbing for miles every day with belt kit, rifle, and a backpack on, you would struggle to lift these bloody things. Never mind the average person who may be carrying a few extra pounds. They don't go to the gym very often, poor diet, or perhaps even they've got a medical condition. Are we really saying that you're going to have this huge backpack full of stuff, fling it on your back, and be able to walk for 2-3 days? Really? I think we've got to be realistic, folks. I think you've got to ask yourself searching questions about not just you, me, the other members of your party. What if it's an elderly loved one that, they might not be very ambulatory, they might be aged, they might have medical conditions. What do we do? Do we leave them behind? Do we stay with them? Do we walk at you're going to have to walk at the slowest pace of the group, and your pace will be dictated by their fitness, whilst you might be able to tab for miles with a ruck on, no problem, that's great. But you could have small children, aging family members. These are the questions we should be asking. And then another important question we should be asking: bug out to where? Where are you going? What have you got there when you get there? Have you pre-positioned anything en route to where you're going? Have you scouted out in advance? It's all well and good having a bug out bag, but have a bug out place. Have a realistic appraisal of yourself, of your party members, and if possible, maybe start adding a few miles into your everyday life. Go for a walk. Encourage other party members to do that. Even if you don't have to, that physical fitness will do you no harm in the long term for your own personal well-being. And the bag itself, in my opinion, you should be looking at your bag, you should be appraising the contents based on your ability to carry it. Are the contents in good condition? You're keeping a regular check on them. You might be rotating them into other preps. And also the season. The amount of food that you're going to require in winter time versus summer is going to be entirely different, folks. You'll be burning a shed load of calories in winter time. It'll take you so much longer to get to from point A to point B, and you'll have to carry a lot more warm weather kit, change your clothes, possibly heat pads. Your pace will half at best if you're trudging across ground. That's if even bugging out it's got to be the desperate last-ditch option if you're going out in that time or season and you're having to go for 3 days as the standard pack most people will prep for. So these are just a few things I wanted to touch on, because I think we've got to be realistic in ourselves and have a no bullshit appraisal of yourself and your abilities and your party's abilities. and ideally scout out where you're going to go to. And if it's going to be any certain distance, I would suggest you want to pre-position supplies along route, and I'll go into that later on in the video with a suggestion for you might want to take on board. But now I've got that waffle out the way, I'll go over a bag or two of mine and what I tend to pack in them. Okay folks, let's talk about the bag itself. You want a good quality, good condition rucksack. You've got to look at the kit you want to carry. You want to try the bag on. You want to make sure it sits comfortably. You want to make sure you know how to load the pack. You know, you may want one with detachable pouches. These are obviously ex-British Army ones, short drop and long drop Bergens. And in mine's, obviously seasonal dependent loadout, you need, in the simplest terms, you need water. You ain't got no water, you ain't going to go very far. So first and foremost, we have got good sturdy water container. I've got a life straw. And I've got a reasonable amount of Puree tabs that I'll carry. Okay. Secondly, we want some sort of shelter. Okay, so there's a reasonable poncho stroke basher and a couple of fold up ground sheets for sticking underneath it. And you can't go wrong with some black bags. Myriad of uses. Absolutely lots. So we've got water. We've got shelter. We've got a means to carry it. Food. Got to get those calories in. If you've got no food, your mood will crash through the floor, never mind your energy levels. You know, they'll say an army marches on its stomach. Yep. People, we like to be comfortable. You'll never be more comfortable with a hot meal in your body. That being said, all of these can be eaten cold. Okay? Every one of these can be eaten cold if you should have to. And there's 3 pouches per day. That's what I would typically put in the bag. You'll see there's no dried food in there. Water's heavy. Water might be hard to find. And I'll be trying to keep it for drinking. Okay, so for a strictly keeping weight down bug out bag, this is what I would do in terms of water and food. And in the food, you could strip out a couple of pouches per day. Okay, especially in the summer months. But winter months, got to get the calories in. On that note, you want to think about some dextrose, some energy tablets. Okay, and then the food. If you want to be and you're comfortable that the smoke's going to dissipate, you might be in a scenario that smells will travel. That's a fact. Whether it's hexy for your mess tins or whatever you're using, the human nose is more sensitive than most people think. Smells will travel. Same for smoke. Be careful, prevailing winds, etc. in those scenarios, what you're cooking and where you're cooking and the method of cooking. Okay, in that regard, I like these little folding stoves. They'll burn twigs, anything at all. They're fantastic. And you want redundant means of starting the fire as well. Right. I've also got boxes of matches that are waxed, that they're sitting in another bag at the moment. I'm too lazy to bring them out. If you don't want to set the fire, if you don't want to eat them cold, these chemical heaters, you'll see them a lot in the American rat packs, and they're excellent. Tiny amount of water, fill it to the line, fold it back over, incline it at an angle against the rock or whatever. You can also use it, if you're careful, as a heater later for your hands. Be aware they tend to gas off hydrogen, smell may travel, and also you've got a slight explosion risk, so just be careful. Alright? You want a good quality knife. You want to keep the knife sharp. You want to keep the knife oiled. A decent chopper. That's what you want as well. So, branches, etc. You want a decent folding saw. Stick that in your pack. Small multi-purpose hammer, sharp axe, you know, a little crowbar on the end of it as well, and potentially other uses. I've seen some folks putting little entrenching tools in, folding shovels, that sort of thing. Personally, to be honest, I don't really go with it. I mean, you could dig a small hole out of that, even for it's just toilet purposes or whatever. You know, don't use the blade. It's just extra weight. I don't think I would want to carry personally. Decent medical kit. Make sure you check the contents regularly. Check all the dates. Sense check the contents. Make sure it's going to be fit for purpose for what your needs may be. Alright? Emergency blanket. Might want to use it as a sleeping bag liner over the top, inside it, depending where you are and what you want to do. Decent radio. The ubiquitous Bayphone. The kind of preppers go to for most folks. Make sure you know how to work it. Practice using it with your other party members. Keep it charged. Okay. Bungee cords. That looks a bit random, but they're just great. I mean, if it's even... in fact, my video's really poor. I'm a terrible person. I've even brought out paracord. This bag's not got paracord on it. I've got boxes of it, I assure you. You want paracord in there, but these are really good as well for stringing your bungee, tarp, whatever you're going to do for a improvised fly sheet, keep the rain off you. Yeah, bungees are fantastic. Dry bags. Can't go wrong with dry bags. You'll notice I don't have any clothes here. Well, yeah, you need to pack clothes. You need to layer up. You need to have spare socks. You need to keep your socks dry. If you're going to bed, you want to be in a nice dry kit. You don't want your soggy kit anywhere near your sleeping platform, whatever you're using. So keep dry kit, keep it dry at all times, sleep in it. Try and hang your kit up when you're sleeping. Try and get it dried off. Failing that, wring out as much water as you can, and as unpleasant as it's going to be, that's what you're putting on the next day. Make sure your dry kit's packed away, nice and safe to give you a good night's rest. Wind up radio. Brilliant, fantastic. Got to have it. Decent head torch, spare batteries, some wipes, personal hygiene, keep yourself clean. These little hand warmers, again, I personally like a couple of packs of them. They say 10 hours of heat. Yeah, that's a lot of bollocks. Yeah. Decent heat, you'll get a couple hours out of them. But they're worth having. There's negligible weight in them. They're relatively cheap. Sleeping bag, season dependent. Alright. Now, I've got an Arctic 4-season one if I need it. Again, would I want to carry it with the weight? Probably not. So a good, lightweight, quality sleeping bag if you can afford it. Failing that, something's better than nothing. Okay, but be aware of the weight. Don't get it wet. If you get it wet, you're going to have an unpleasant time and you're going to add weight to your kit. Alright, so that's it for the bags at the moment. Okay, here's a random one to consider. And it's up to yourselves whether you think it's a good idea or not. But these 30-litre drums. Now, when I kayak and go out on the water, I tend to put these on my kayak. They're great if the boat tips upside down. They'll generally float away and I'll catch on the bend of a river, or if it's an estuary, wherever the tide's taking it in the flow. So 30-litre, very inexpensive, plenty room inside them. Comes with waterproof lid, steel band, locks on the two lips. You pull it shut, you can even stick a pin in it to keep it in place if you want. Really, really good. That's galvanised, that ring as well, incidentally, so corrosion wise it should last a little while. And on the note of corrosion, now I harped on earlier on about bug out to where. Okay, where are you going? How are you going to get there? How long is it going to take? Well, if it's going to be a little bit of a trek, or you don't want to carry too much kit, Have a think about these, right? Scout out a couple of places en route. Stick in a few rat packs. Stick in some supplies, some puree tabs, some water, whatever it is you think you're going to need, some spare batteries, anything you don't want to carry or anything you think you might need more of, okay? But critically, it's something you could do without as well, because when you get there, it might not be there. Think of it as a nice to have, but it's not going to put you in a life or death situation if it's not there, okay? It's a trip extender, not a trip ender if you can't find it. When you get to where you want to be and you're going to put it someplace, obviously make sure nobody's watching you, you're not breaking any laws where you're putting it. It's close enough to a main road that you can walk there. You know, it might be particularly heavy depending what you're putting in it, but it's far enough away that you're not going to get random walkers on trails, etc. When you bury it, put it in a bag, seal the bag up, put it in the hole. Now, suggestion, and I'll be honest, I got this from somebody else, that was a great idea. Dig it down, put some dirt on top, but before you fill the hole up, right, maybe 6 inches before the top, put a couple of pieces of metal, whether it's a coin or whatever. If some random person's going past and they might be doing metal detecting or whatever, chances of it happening, very remote. But if they did do a passive scan, right, across it with the metal detector, they'll find the coins. Chances are they'll stop at the coins, bottle lid, whatever it is you're thinking of, and then they'll disappear. So anything you can do to guarantee the safety of your cash is a great thing. And you don't have to do this, but I think it's a worthwhile endeavour. If you've got spare kit, you've got a place to go, might be a bit of a trek, get some extra supplies in those. They're very inexpensive and it just might make your travels a bit easier. So I'm sure some folks will agree, disagree, pick flaws in what I've said, or they might have a totally different viewpoint of things. Do you know, that's fine, that's life, eh? But it boils down to weight, it boils down to you, it boils down to your physical condition and that of your party, and you've got to take these things into account, folks, in my opinion. And I hope this has been of some value. Let me know in the comments. Thanks, guys. Bye.